It's a hell of a thing, killing a man. You take away all he's got, and all he's ever gonna have.
Yeah. Well, I guess they had it coming.
We all have it coming, kid.
Hi everyone, it's your boy Zach. So Ed Piskor was murdered a week ago today, and ironically, tragically, most of this video is going to be the video I was going to do a week ago. So I woke up, it was April Fool's Day. People were sending me emails, hey, Ed Piskor just released a suicide note. I was like, whatever, it's April Fool's. And then they're like, no, it's real. This person is sending out, screenshots of it. And I'm like, that person is always stirring the pot. Like, whatever, it's April Fool's. And then finally someone was like, he has a Facebook post. The Facebook post has a link to a Google Doc that has his suicide note. So I'm like, oh, okay, so let me check this out. And then it's just everything that's been covered over the last week. It's 5 pages long. And there was going to be one other video. This is the last in this series. I basically covered it. There was going to be one other video about all the things that Alex DeCampi did, accusing him of having an alt. And then, since she said that the alt was racist, sexist, and queer bashing, that was the exact phrase she used, while also, oh my gosh, following Ethan Van Sciver and Elon Musk, it's almost as if she thought the original allegations weren't strong enough, so she had to add more to it. But when I mentioned that before, you know that phrase, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence? Alex DeCampi being a sociopath is not an extraordinary claim. It's common knowledge. So, and honestly, I just want to get back to making it's depressing. I was describing it to a friend like this. Imagine like a golden age superhero, and he starts off and he's fighting golden age villains. He's fighting they're like, I'm gonna steal all the lollipops in town and melt them down to make one giant lollipop for myself. And then it's like the Silver Age, and the guy's like, that mirror I trapped you in will hold you for an hour while I rob this bank. Don't worry, you will be released, but I'll be long gone. And now this golden age guy he's waking up, and it's like the Bronze Age, and somebody poisoned the water reservoir on the hottest day of the year. Didn't even like hold a ransom. He's like, yeah, I just wanted to kill people. So like, they kill people now. There's like, what are you gonna do? It's like, hey everyone, we're having a crossover of Amanda Waller. Ooh, she's gonna take their soup. Yeah, you guys kill people now. You kill people now. You kill people, then you defame them in between their death and the funeral, and then you keep defaming them after the funeral. You write articles about it, and then you cut out parts where your friends were identified as the murderers. Like, you kill people now. Oh hey, stay tuned. Danny Lore is writing Blade. Okay, you guys kill people now. A couple of people spoke up. Greg Smallwood, Patrick Zurcher, Mark Millar, Bill Sienkiewicz, a couple others. Nobody else said shit. Like, you guys kill people now. And the craziest thing is they got this blue sky, which is where all these people went. And people are sending me screenshots. I don't like to do videos about screenshots because I like to like have it on the screen, and you can have the website address right there. But basically, all the cancel killers are over on Blue Sky. I mean, they're basically recreating 2018 Twitter, and it's this weird thing where they're like soothing each other while also gaslighting each other. It's like, I don't know why I'm on this list. I don't know either. Yeah, all of us are really nice. Yeah, we're all nice. And Alex is the nicest of all of us. No. There's 10 years of evidence of you all acting like sociopaths, leading or being involved with every single digital lynch mob. And there wasn't a single millisecond of self-reflection. I mentioned this in another video. Do you remember being in elementary school and like somebody would like fall off the monkey bars, and then there would be this weird like kid investigation? It's like, who was close to him? Who has a habit of pushing people off of the monkey bars? And it's like, I remember you were right near him, and then it's like, oh, he fell, I didn't push him. No, it's just like, yeah, whatever. Like literally elementary school kids have a better grasp of like when things go too far than these people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. Tragically, this was the video I was going to make. So I was going to make this video, and then when I heard about the news about Ed Piskor, I was like, it would be like really tragic if I made this video, and it turns out he was actually dead from suicide, and he was. So this came out. This doesn't seem right. It says this article is from April 1st. I don't know if they re-uploaded it. Okay, so the way I remember it is this came out a few days before. Oh no, so they did the poll on March 29th, and then this was a follow-up talking about what the results were. Okay, so reader poll results. Our readers have nuanced takes on canceled creators. On Friday, that was at March 29th, we asked our readers how they deal with art created by people who are exposed for bad behavior, citing the recent accusations against Ed Piskor as a recent example. This is a really important question for most people who take in media of any kind, as we live in an era where, rightly, people are more frequently called out for things they've done. Our readers must have agreed on the import of the question, as almost 9 times the usual participants voted in this in this week's poll. Thank you for weighing in on this. We appreciate you trusting us to be part of this discussion due to the seriousness of the question, but we will be outlining the entire range of responses. Almost half our readers, 47.6% to be precise, feel this is a case-by-case decision in terms of how to proceed. This is a very logical way to approach the situation, especially as we all have different lines in terms of what we can and cannot accept from people in our lives. 20.5% of the vote stated that they don't seek out new work, but still enjoy older work that they are attached to from before they knew the truth about the artist. 14.5% feel that they can totally separate the art from the artist and so consume the art they want regardless of who makes it. 11.2% totally cut off engagement with the work, past, present, or future. 5.7% separate the art from the artist, but will find ways to take in the art that doesn't financially benefit the creator, which is probably pirating or library. And finally, Is that, I think that's 0.5. 0.5, yeah, 0.5%. 0.5% will still enjoy the work, but find ways to support organizations or individuals affected by this behavior. So it basically comes down to only 11% of people will just totally cut off engagement with someone who is canceled. Pretty much everyone else will take it case by case. And the fascinating thing is that I don't know what they peaked at. I remember, like, for all the recent videos, they say we're almost at 100,000. But a couple days after the scandal, I looked and it was 89,000. They pretty much lost exactly 11%. Now there has been some recovery, especially after his death, and people looked into context. I gotta say, I'm not trying to make light of this subject, but Europeans do not understand this scandal. Like, they're like, we don't get it. I mean, they got like Macron. He was 17 when he met his future wife, and she was like 42. So like the Europeans are just like, we don't understand. Was there a murder? Was it like they? Like I said, I'm not trying to make light of this, but they do not get the controversy of this situation. But I remember just being shocked when they said 11%, and then I went to go check of how many people had unsubscribed from the channel, and it was 11%. So the way I interpret this is Ed Piskor's scandal was survivable. He was never going to go back to the life he had. He wasn't going to be approved by the media and all that type of stuff. But you know what? Check this out. This is Chuck D, and this is the official Chuck D. This is his actual account. Man, we lost one of the greats. A super art inspiration, Ed Piskor. Rest in beats, man. And I really don't get it. This, he says, it's a very like 1990s way of saying something. This 21C social sphere. So he's talking about 21st century social media fear environment. This 21C social sphere are pushing so many people out of this realm. Damn. So he shows a picture of Ed Piskor wearing Public Enemy swag. Obviously, Ed Piskor wanted to live his last their Wizard reviews because they pre-recorded them, and so it was released yesterday. And it was really sad, but he was basically saying, he's like, hey, this is about as far as we're going to go with Wizard, because after this it just basically becomes Entertainment Weekly. But he was looking to the future. He's like, we got all the issues of Amazing Heroes, which was my favorite zine from the 80s and early 90s. I think he said they had all of the issues of Comics Scene and one other one. And it was like, literally, they could have gone for another 5 years. They did about 5 years of covering Wizard issues one by one, and they had another 5 years of stuff they wanted to cover. Now, one thing I really have to commend is the people on the Cartoonist Kayfabe Burrs Reddit. So this is not an official Reddit. In fact, often on the show they would talk about like, hey, like these different things, they're not like official, these are just fans, so they do what they want. And there has been a real trajectory over the course of this scandal, and then his murder, and then the aftermath. And I was really, I don't know how to say it, like proud of these people, because as soon as the allegations came out, you know, I'm Googling, I want to learn more about this situation. So most of the time I went here, because these people weren't acting like shitheads. They were actually having like actual human emotions, and it wasn't always the same. I'm trying to scroll down to when this all began. I guess I probably should have done that before this video. But when they originally heard the allegations, they were very hurt. They were very disappointed. I would say disappointed more than angry. Okay, so this is the beginning. And yes, people have deleted some of the things they said, especially after his death, because so like the first time you see it mentioned is they have a poll that said, would you still watch the channel if it continues? Just curious what the vibe is among the fans. Now, this poll opened 14 days ago, and it closed like a day later. So these initial results were very, very angry. So you got 118, no, I'm done. This is, would you still watch the channel? 88, yes, not my business, don't care, wasn't illegal. 177, yes, if Ed is replaced. 56, I will watch old ones if they leave the channel up. So initially people were angry, disappointed, and they were just like, we gotta do he's got to be replaced. But over time, like they would read like this one that I highlighted yesterday, where she's literally like, Ed didn't harm me, he didn't ask for pics, he didn't send pics, and she says flat out, Ed Piskor was not a pedophile. So when this stuff starts coming out, then they have like a different take, and they're like, they're just kind of like talking about it from different perspectives, and it was really very human. I'm used to people just being shitheads, just I'm on this side of the culture war, I'm on that side. It kind of feels like the cartoonist kayfabe, they weren't on either side, just like I don't think Ed was, even though Ed would block CG people. It was just so weird when this whole thing started. Each side claimed that Ed was on the other side, so this was somehow a dunk on the other side. But it was just really weirdly encouraging to see the way that people dealt with this over time. And you even had some people saying like, hey, I'm apologizing, I went too far. And talking about mental health, thanking him for his contributions. One thing I really got to say is that I was listening to, I think it was Wes from Thinking Critical, and I think he was talking to Doc, and they were talking about that like fake, or not, it wasn't like a fake poll, but it was interpreted in a way that didn't make sense. So like 10 years ago, there was a poll on Facebook that said like, are you a fan of comics? And it was like the height of the MCU, so all of these like aunties were just like clicking yes, and they're like 24 million people are fans of comics, and half of them are women. And so they started running with this really faulty data, or rather the interpretation of it was faulty. And so like they just went down this weird path of like, women love it, so let's change it so that women like it. It's like, wait, you just said that you actually had gender parity, like just on accident, just randomly, like 10 years ago you just had it. So why would you change things if you had almost perfect gender parity? So they made the idea of equity, they talked about equity, and they're like, they didn't increase the amount of women, they just shrank the amount of men. So if you go through this, and I encourage you to go through it, it's not one of those places where you're like ordered to take one side or another. People basically just talk like regular people. But so many people were saying like, thank you, you got me into comics, you got me into appreciating comics as an art form. I really think that cartoonist kayfabe was like one of the only places, because they basically avoided the culture wars, where they were actually bringing in new readers, creating an atmosphere of creating possibly lifelong readers. And what is that line from that Star Wars movie? In your anger, you killed her. That's what the cancel pigs, the cancel killers now, they did. They killed someone who was probably the last best hope. He obviously loved comics. He was great at conveying that, instilling that, and they killed him. He's dead now. He's like actually dead. I was talking in a video from last week. I think I ended up redoing it, so I didn't talk about this part. But like, I have this weird thing about death where like every person I've ever known who died, if they like knocked on the door, I wouldn't be like, oh my god. If they were just like, hey, yeah, I wasn't dead. It was just like it was like a confusion. Like I got knocked out. I lost my memory, and of course I couldn't remember anyone's phone number. And then I wandered to a different city. I'd just be like, yeah, that makes sense because I never really thought you were dead because like in my memories you're very much alive. It's like, yeah, it was just weird. And it's like, and also, we're not going to talk about how it's weird that, Grandpa, you're still 76 and it's 30 years later. You should be 106. But, like, yeah, like, this all makes sense. It really feels like, yeah, no, he's, like, really, really dead. Like, he's dead. You can hear his voice, even in, quote, new videos that weren't released yet. But those are going to run out. Probably pretty soon. And they killed him. I'm writing a Western right now where it's basically right when the telegraph really became popular. And this woman essentially invents wire fraud. She steals a bunch of money or has it transferred. And the guy who she stole from, he doesn't know what to do. Because he's going to like the marshals and stuff. He's going to the courts. They're like, this is not a crime yet. Like, it'll be a crime real soon, but it's not a crime now. So basically they just say like, oh, well, she also forged documents. So they send some, marshals after her for the forgery, but like they don't really have anything else. In the future, what was done to Ed, it won't just be a crime on the same like level as, I'm guessing probably like manslaughter. But people will not believe that it ever wasn't a crime. They'll just be so confused. Like nobody's like, why is wire fraud a crime? Well, it's because you're using like, why would it not be a crime? But there's always this weird kind of like liminal space between a new crime being invented and like the law saying like, oh, no, you can't do that. There's a lot of it happening right now with the squatting rules because people see it just being completely abused. And a lot of laws and enforcement of laws is changing, but it takes time. I would say probably within about 10 years, what was done to Ed will be not just a crime, but it'll be like multiple different crimes. It won't have like a super dramatic name. It'll have like one of those weird like the way that crimes are actually. It'll be like I don't know, incitement to commit self-harm first degree, and first degree would be resulting in a death, something like that. And there will be other ones related to this, like obviously things like essentially piling on. Like supposedly there's some very, very bad allegations. Why do you then need to pile on and like, oh, that's Ed. That's Ed's alt, and he's a racist and a sexist and he's queer bashing and he's following Elon Musk. I don't know which one of these is worse. No, there was never any reason. And what was done to Jim, where Ramon is like, it's looking like you're complicit. Complicit. Adjective. Involved with others in an illegal activity or wrongdoing. That's the exact phrase that Ramon used with Jim when he was essentially blackmailing him into denouncing Ed. And I believe that betrayal, although I said I understand why Jim did it, I believe that was the deciding factor. Once again, here's the tweet. Ed has kind of always been a coward, but I know when the Eric stuff went, DC asked if I'd wait for an official statement. After a few days, I said I couldn't wait. Jim really needlessly making himself complicit for a guy who threw him under the bus over that Red Room cover. Complicit means you're an accomplice. So Ramon who was accusing Ed of being a pedophile, even though Molly said Ed is not a pedophile. He was accusing Jim of being an accomplice to a pedophile. That's going to be illegal really soon. I would say 5 to 10 years. The good news is that Ed, along with Jim, created essentially a new generation of comic book fans, enthusiasts, customers. The bad news is that we're going to lose most of them. I mean, it's just too ugly of an industry. And the brain drain isn't even a brain drain. Brain drain is when you have talented people and they leave your company or they leave your industry because they didn't get paid enough, because they weren't treated respectfully. That next Jim Lee, that next Mark Millar, they take one look at the comic book industry and they say, oh, fuck no. The risk versus reward for working in that insane industry? Fuck that. I mean, Hollywood's crazy. Video games is probably worse. They don't hold a candle to the comic book industry. Comic book industry is a fucking cauldron. People were hoping, I was hoping, that this would be like a shock. And the usual suspects would realize that they're going too far. But they didn't. They didn't double down. They quadruple, quintuple, like infinity minus one down. They're now claiming that Alex DeCampi is nice. Even Rich Johnston doesn't do that shit. Oh boy, if you can somehow see what they talk about on Blue Sky, it's literal insanity. It is insanity. I've never been mean to them. Is this about the Simpsons skit? It was just a... No, bitch. Alex, you've been torturing people for a decade. People have memories. We're not playing this little weird, like, Bloody Mary game where you're all, like, scaring each other and then soothing each other. It's like, yeah, we're all super nice. That was weird. I mean, they were literally saying, like, we have no idea why he chose to list us in his suicide note. So they would just be like, well, they chose Daryl because he hates black people. Yes. Yeah. This guy, commemorated by Chuck D from Public Enemy. Yeah, I'm really sure that guy hates black people. I was watching a trailer. God damn it. It was one of those fan-made trailers that looks like a real trailer until you realize they're reusing footage. You're like, motherfucker. That should be a crime in 10 years as well. Like, you can make a fan trailer, but you need to say, like, this is a fan trailer. But it was about Andor, which is about the beginning of the rebellion in Star Wars. So it's a lot of people being spies and assassins, but it's also people working for the Empire while they help the rebellion. And I had this thought, and I was like, you know, the only real hope for comics is that people do something like that. Like, they're double agents. So they say all the right stuff. They're in the meetings. It's like, why don't we have a Pride special every month? Meanwhile, they're hiring Chris Claremont for a miniseries. And they're hiring the Simonsons. And you're just Mr. Woke. And it's like, we need gay stuff every week. But it's like one gay book that nobody buys. And then you have Larry Hama writing The Punisher or something like that. But I was just like, it's just like too much work for someone to make, what, like $50,000? Anyone smart enough to pull that off would be smart enough to be very successful in any functioning industry. And comics is not that. So, yeah, I'm not going to cover this anymore. I'm going to get back to doing kind of regular stuff. But it's kind of a moot point. Like, the industry is different. They kill now. They kill, and just as we predicted for years, they don't have a millisecond of self-reflection. They will continue to defame you while your corpse is being prepared for your funeral, during your funeral, and afterwards. So it's like I say, live. They hate that shit. Anyway, thanks for watching.